Wait, you're telling me there's a shonen manga with a trio of main characters and none of them are trash? Jujutsu Kaisen, you're fire! Before we hop into this ranking of the first year students of Jujutsu High from Jujutsu Kaisen, please do me a favor and leave your own ranking in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's get into it. What's up guys, I got the pencil here and here we are to rank the 3 first years of Jujutsu High. Yes, there are only 3 and I'm definitely going to talk about man, there's so many things I want to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, and this is one of the things I like about the most. I like how small the first year class is because it gives us 3 characters that we can all focus on. I think they're all great, so don't let the person being on the bottom think that, oh, I must think they're a bad character. Now, all these characters are great. They all have their own great moments, their great backstories, great everything. But tell me what your guys' list is, please, in the comment section down below before you even learn mine. I really want to see it. And let's hop right into it with number 3. Nabara, you did a fantastic job. But you need a little bit more sauce now. You need a little bit more sauce because the other 2, your contemporaries, they're pretty fire. They're pretty fire. Let's talk about Nabara and why I think she's still really, really good despite her being number 3 on the list. I think she's fantastic because of her personality. She has almost the Sakura effect of where she cares a lot about her appearance and how she looks and enjoying that, but in the sense of she's still an absolute monster and beast whenever she needs to be. She has one of my favorite Jujutsu Kaisen techniques in terms of all of them, the straw doll technique and resonance, mainly because of how interesting it is as a concept. Like when I was first introduced to it, I was like, what is this? And then she actually performed it where she has the straw doll. It's like voodoo, but with hammers and nails. It's like really, I'm not sure if that's how voodoo works normally, but even if it isn't, that is a really interesting concept because it allows for situations where an opponent of Nobara not only has to focus on what she's doing to them physically, like swinging on them with the hammer, but they also need to focus on the fact that if any part of them or anything they're using gets hit, then suddenly she has full control over that. And it's really, really cool because Nobara almost acts as like this binding contract. Like if you get hit by one of her nails, or if you get hit by anything, or she gets a piece of your DNA and puts in the straw doll, or puts a piece of your energy inside herself, such as the case with the 2 blood brothers, you can see you're basically you're tied down. You're not allowed to do things because she herself becomes a medium, or the straw doll becomes a medium, and she can manipulate it in such a way that no matter what situation there is, as long as she gets that initial hit, she can pretty much bully you. And I want to go into the manga so badly, but I don't want to spoil the manga for anybody. But let me say this, there's one really cool fight in the manga that makes perfect use of her straw doll technique, and I think it's so amazing and wonderful, and I can't go into it right now. But the anime itself still does a fantastic job. One with the initial monster, because it's really casual. Like, it's a great introduction to her as a character and her techniques, which is really, really good to do. You always want to have a strong introduction whenever you're introducing new characters, especially one who's supposed to be in our main trio, as Nobara is. And then, of course, you have her fight with the 2 Cursed Womb brothers. And the thing that I love about that fight is how she just reveals to everybody there that she is a menace. Like, Gojo says something very interesting when he says, oh, well, yeah, to be a proper Jujutsu sorcerer, you kind of have to be some sort of a sociopath or some sort of monster. And I'm like, And then you finally see it with Nobara, where, like, the poison gets inside her. It's made of their blood, though. She's like, so basically, we're both gonna be in pain till we die. How about I put you in more pain first? And she like, when she did that, it revealed how much of a menace she feasibly was. Like, in her fight against Momo, she already revealed to a degree that she's a menace. Like, the way she just straight up was like, okay, yeah, so what, that Jujutsu sorcerer women have to suffer much harder. I love looking good and I love beating people down. It's like a nice, very good combo there that shows that, yeah, just because that vanity is one part of her character, it's not her entire character, she's still a monstrous menace and a very good combatant, considering that Momo would have lost that fight if she wasn't getting double teamed. Like, Nobara nearly won a double team that she didn't even know she was fighting, so very respectable on her part. But my favorite moment of Nobara is obviously when she just nail, and then she literally realizes, oh, something's happening, they're escaping, nail. And it's just the ability to understand that, yes, while this is going to be a very painful solution to the situation, she was already in extreme amounts of pain from the poison cast on her by the 2 brothers. But on top of that, to be able to stab yourself because you know on a fundamental level that that's going to be the better solution to help the other person who you know is immune to poisons due to his nature with Sukuna, and he'll be able to figure out the way to actually take down the brothers as long as you immobilize them and you're willing to harm yourself for that, possibly permanently scar yourself for that. She was really stabbing herself like directly in the arm too, so she was really chancing hitting a very vital vein and just bleeding out everywhere. She didn't care though, and that menace mentality is what I respect a lot in characters. This is what I love about Jujutsu Kaisen in general. Like, if you look at a lot of our characters, they are all very much menaces, 100%, and I think that's great. The only thing that holds Nobara back from being any higher is that, as much as I love her backstory, which I'm not sure, did they get covered in the anime? Hold on. It didn't get covered in the anime, so I'm not going to spoil it, but I think her backstory is fantastic. It's just not as interesting as her two contemporaries' backstories for various reasons. And you'll definitely see why as the anime catches up to the manga more and more, because there are just some parts of both Megumi's and Itadori's backstories that are just like wild. And as much as I like Nobara's backstory, it sounds interesting to me as theirs, so she's held back by that. And also, unfortunately, she just doesn't have as many standout moments in her time as one of the main characters. This is just a symptom of having two other main characters. She has moments. She has the fight against a moment where she has the fight against the two brothers, and she has a couple moments in the manga later on that I'm not going to spoil. So she does good. However, she doesn't do good enough. No, I'm kidding. But she doesn't have enough time right now to really put her above her two fellow main characters. And while I should technically base my views only on the anime, even then, on the anime, what I've gotten out of the other two characters would put them above her alone. But still, fantastic character, fantastic backstory, amazing power set. Can't wait to see more of her. And yeah, Mappa, good job on animating her. Fantastic job. Good. I'm moving into praising the anime. Let's move on to number 2. Alright, so Megumi, you're a suppressed menace. And I respect it, but I'm glad you're not suppressed anymore. Here's the thing. Megumi, at first, was not very interesting of a character to me, I'll admit. Mainly because I didn't think he had much presence to him due to his rather subdued nature at first. Like, he seemed like a very much by the numbers, book to book. He seemed very much like Sasuke to me. A Sasuke without any of the interesting character motivation. Because as boring as I found Sasuke was at first, the interest in killing that one person is what kept me linked to Sasuke. I'm like, ooh, okay, what does this mean? Is this affecting his current personality? What's going on? What's going on? I liked all that. It was a little bit of intrigue. And I think Akutami Sensei did that on purpose. I think he did purposely plan it out so that Megumi would not necessarily have an interesting backstory, interesting motivations off rip, but like he would slowly drip feed you more and more about his past. And I like that. It explains a lot about Megumi and his current attitude towards things. Like when we catch up to his old middle school, his old junior high, and we see how people are scared of him because of the way he used to be, and we learn more about his ideology and how he feels about people and what he wants to do as a person, as a Jujutsu sorcerer, what he wants to do for his sister, all these different things. I like all these little details that pile on top of Megumi that make him more and more interesting as time progresses. It's very much a slow burn with Megumi, as Gojo even admits when he's talking about how Megumi always holds back, like with the sacrifice blunt in the baseball game, and how he needs to learn to let himself free. It makes sense why he's in a much more restrained fashion because of how much he's held down by both his physical and psychological burdens that spawned over the course of his life. And I like characters who've gone through suffering and are still going through suffering. So I think in terms of sheer character depth, I like Megumi a lot more now. If you had asked me, like, when the entire main trio had been introduced and given, like, 2 episodes, I probably would have put Nobara actually above Megumi, but due to his backstory and how much his character makes sense now, fantastic. I think it's slightly better than Nobara, mainly because while it's less upfront, while it's less clear, once you get into it, it's much more interesting. And obviously, the 10 Shadows technique is one of my favorites, just because of the sheer diversity of it. Like the 2 dogs on top of the frog, on top of the flying bird, on top of the Max. I just love Elephant, so Max Elephant was my boy. But basically, I love all the diversity in Megumi's abilities, because he can basically summon whatever he really needs to after he conquers it. And considering he has a lot of empty spots left, I believe even up until the manga he still has a couple empty spots left of shadows he's yet to conquer. That means Akutami Sensei could literally be like, I don't know, here, take this dragon. And if he drops a dragon, I'm just going to lose my mind. But regardless of that, I think that's very, very cool. His power set is one of the most naturally diverse in the entire series. Like, you know, Gojo's on creative right now, but other than Gojo himself, in terms of like specific summoning techniques that have natural diversity in them and can be used in different ways once summoned, like how all the different summonings could work differently in a compact area compared to a larger area, compared to different areas, and how they can stack on top of each other when he summons two at the same time. I like all these different possible interweaving factors that can create a very diverse fighting style for someone like Megumi, especially since he's still a very, very good hand-to-hand combatant on top of all of that. So he not only has his traditional summoning techniques, making him like an Animal Path from Naruto, or any summoner in any show really, but it also means that he himself will throw hands if the hands need to be thrown. I think that's great. And also, he's the first of our main characters so far, and I guess, no, I won't even go into depth, but he's the first of our main characters to get a domain expansion, something very, very important to any Jujutsu sorcerer because of how dangerous that thing is. And the way he unlocks it is one of my favorite moments for his character, because you can tell, like, as cool as it is on a fundamental level, the way he just breaks into this huge grin and starts laughing and going crazy and all this stuff like that. The thing that I like the most about it is that you can tell that was a psychological break. Like, he was flashing back to what Gojo had told him, was like, you know what? Forget it. That's it. I'm trying everything. He literally just threw out every last limit because he was alone, because this was do or die, and he just didn't feel like dying in that moment. Like, that was adrenaline taking over and like ruining every last bit of comprehensive logical thought that he had up to that point. He was like, forget it. I've never done domain expansion before. Let's try it. I've never done any of this before. Let's try it. Let's just do it. I have some fundamentals that I know about. I have this ability, maybe, and let's go wild. I think that's one of my favorite moments because it's not only a great way to signify character growth by shifting his character into the sense that he's willing to be more flexible and free and work more for himself rather than anyone else, letting go of his burdens for a moment, these burdens that have weighed him down and made him so passive, but also is a great power growth because domain expansion, really, really cool. And he has one of my favorites out of like the entire series because of how dark it is internally. Like, just it almost matches him because on the surface it's a very simple sort of domain expansion. It's just a dark shadowy place, but it represents the darkness within Megumi himself, and I like that mix. I like that, not necessarily dichotomy, but I like the balance behind how he and his domain expansion interact as characters and a character power. I think that's very, very good. And obviously that's one of my favorite moments for him. He has a lot of other great moments up in the manga. It's just that admittedly they're actually, this is kind of a spoiler, they're less sparse than both Nobara and Itadori's, which is interesting. I think we're gonna, recently in the manga, we're definitely gonna get into a Megami focused stuff, but I'm not spoiling anything, right? This is just like general warnings, but get excited. If you're a Megami fan and you're waiting for more Megami, trust me, you're gonna get a lot more of it and you're gonna like it. But that's enough of Megami. Let's move on to number 1. Itadori Yuji is one of my favorite modern main characters. And like, when I say he's one of my favorites, like he's up there because of how much this man goes through. Here's the thing. We open up in like the first chapter, he loses his only living family. Like we have no idea where his parents are. We know all he has is his grandfather, and his grandfather dies. So he's literally just left an orphan. He's out alone in the world now, and all he has is his little few connections that he does have, and his own last wish to fulfill his grandfather. And so he tries to be a nice, helpful guy off of that. And then he eats Sukuna's finger and becomes an absolute menace. But then he takes over the menace. He fights back against it, only to find out that now he's on an execution timer. He's basically just going to be one big living vessel that can get shot right at the end, so Sukuna finally goes away forever. And you can just see this constant pattern of him trying to be a nice guy, and just nice guy's time failing. Like, he has to go through so much. One of my favorite moments for Itadori is honestly when he is put through the entire thing with Junpei. And honestly, Yuji did nothing wrong with Junpei. Junpei just literally led to his own death and destruction and transfiguration. That is what happened to my poor man. And you can see Yuji just go through like, why? What did I do? Like, there's so many times where you just see these moments of just like blank staring on Yuji's face after a traumatic event has happened, and like he fails to fix it. Because one of the things that I like about Itadori is that when my man messes up, or when the world just says, actually, you know what, Itadori, I don't want you to succeed right now, he can't do anything about it. Because there are other scenarios where even if something bad is happening, a main character will get out of it because of the power of the main character. But the thing that I like is that not only does Itadori have the typical main character immunity, as in, he's not gonna die really, but you just see like stake after stake after stake, sword after sword after sword getting stabbed into Itadori. And just watching, like the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen is pushing Itadori closer and closer to the brink, trying to see what breaks him. And I love watching that in characters. I love when characters are forced to slowly learn about the world that they thought they understood, and he just keeps breaking on them, and he keeps lashing out for apparently no reason. Like, there are multiple times during Jujutsu Kaisen where nothing's Itadori's fault, but it happens to fall on Itadori, and he has to experience it, and it's just terrible. And I think that's great, because while it makes sure that our main character is alive, it makes sure our main character is still present, what it doesn't do is what it does do is it makes it so that Itadori is alive, and he has to suffer with the fact that he's alive. Like, Itadori has one of the biggest senses of survivor's guilt that I've seen in anime and manga, and I like that a lot. I love when characters suffer, because it's a realistic human thing to go through. Suffering is something that happens to everybody, no matter how rich they are, no matter where they come from, no matter what happens in life, everyone suffers. And when you see a main character go through this much, the inspirational thing about Itadori is that somehow through all this, he just takes lessons and keeps pushing on. He reacts realistically, and he pushes on realistically. Actually, no, he pushes on in situations where people wouldn't be able to push on, because he's that strong of a character internally that he can deal with all the external problems. I think that's why I like him the most. Does he have as an interesting of a power set as either of his contemporaries? No, I think Nobara's technique is more interesting, and I think Megumi's technique is more interesting. However, one of the main things I like about Yuji is that he sort of fills my weird niche that I have for like superhumans, just in general. I like when characters' main superpower is that they're very fast and they're very strong and they're going to hit you hard. That's why I like the vanilla so much from Magi. I think they're all great, mainly just because every single one of these other characters can summon massive beasts, can explode nails with hairpins and something like that. They can literally activate creative mode and blast massive beams of energy. And then there's Yuji, who's going to hit you very, very hard and very, very fast. I love that. It's such a cool thing. It's really amazing to see someone like Yuji thrive in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, because you wouldn't think. Sure, a lot of his hits do end up being revealed to have special properties, but even the ones that don't, like before he learns Black Flash, he's just hitting Hanami very, very hard. That's it. That's all he's doing. And it's great to see. Like, I love it when people just don't expect it, especially since he has such a small frame. At least when Toto runs up and hits you, the guy's gigantic. It makes sense that it's gonna hit hard. But you see Itadori, who's just this kind of slim-looking dude, especially in his school outfit, which covers a lot of his physique. You just don't really expect it. Then he swings on you, and you get absolutely shattered. And also, I really like the effects of before his delayed curse energy and now his Black Flash. Both of the effects that come with it, I like it. They look really, really cool. So not only does he have one of my favorite weird niche powers of being just super strong and super fast, literally hurling cars at people, but he also is an extremely great character who goes through a lot of suffering. He has an extremely interesting backstory that's going dumb right now in the manga. I'm super intrigued with that. And he also has really interesting pseudo powers that I'm not sure are actually powers. Like, there are interesting things about Itadori all around, and good, interesting things that make me ask good questions, and I like it a lot, and Itadori's fantastic. That's why he's my favorite. He's not... But is he my favorite character in the series, though? Maybe. Maybe not. We'll find out on another time. But that's my list. Those are my top 3. Those are my ranking of the first years. What is yours? Please tell me in the comment section down below. Drop on whether you agree with me or not. You think my reasoning's weird? Do you think my reasoning's whack? Do you think it's good? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please tell me in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.